a lot of people relate design as sort of never sat well with me. But over the years, I've realized that it's just two sides of the same coin. And it's really good to see how the two parts come together um, and work towards scaling that business idea or whatever we are working on, right? So that's why I think that's my calling, so to speak. And it's also a combination of how the industry has evolved in the last decade or so. Right from the time when if I'm sure, I don't know how many of you know, but there was a time when nobody could buy furniture online, in simple words, right? Then there came Pepperfry, Urban Ladder. Um, Not just loose furniture, but Urban Ladder was actually a big shift in the way they decided to sell modular furniture online, made to order. And I was an instrumental part in that project because I was working on a supplier side. From there on, of course, now we have all heard of List Space, Homelane, and Design Cafe. They were the pioneers in this industry where it's a B2C industry, residential interiors, but definitely at scale, right? Now, today, we do about 1,000 homes a month. That's execution, right? Um, but it's not easy. It's not so black and white. It's not a straight linear journey, and that's what we are here to explore today. How we can look at these sort of sub industries in the world of design, and how do we look at them in a different light. So a lot of points that I might make today might sound controversial. Deal with that. Bear with me. But also they are just ideas and thoughts for us to look at things in a different light. There's no right or wrong. There's nothing wrong in what we've been doing all this while, and there's nothing 100% right in what we are also doing today. But that's the whole point. The idea is to be able to look back uh, from a different point of view and see what else can be done going forward. Yeah. So let's just jump right in. Okay. I would request if all of you can pull out your phones and log in to menti.com, sorry, and use that code on the screen. In case somebody can't see it, it's 68133748. So a couple of questions here. We will start with understanding where we stand today in terms of what we think about this topic, right?
Can you tell me the number again?
68133748.
133 Yeah.
So the question is, can bespoke be scaled? And I'm sure we understand what we're talking about here. Bespoke meaning a highly personalized, highly customized service. However you look at it, product, service could be your understanding. But what do you think about that point? Can it be scaled? If you have a majority of yes, my job is done, bye bye. Not sure is a good place to be. We'll give it a couple of more,
some more
minutes.
voting.
68133748. Don't log out of that window. You'll have a couple of more questions. I like how nobody's saying no. So that's a good start. Oh, okay. Okay, I think, I don't know if I changed the opinion in the room while you guys were voting, influenced it. But okay, let's stay with that. There are, like I said, no black or white answers here. Now, especially those of us who said not sure or no, there was one no. And even if you said yes, it doesn't matter. Let's think a little bit about why is it difficult or it can be challenging, right, to scale bespoke solutions.
It's not coming on the phone.
Is it visible?
It's visible, but on the phone, the next thing has not changed slides, it's saying.
Refresh.
Maybe, got it, got it. I'm back, yeah.
So I'll just read out the statements for somebody who can't see it in case. Of course, the point that each solution is unique and you have to cater to an individual requirement each time. So how do you scale that? Standardization kills creativity. I think a lot of us will relate to that. There's no one size fits all in design. Services need people for delivery, and it is impossible to operate with. I think that's an error. Sorry, it's impossible to operate at a scale with where the people dependent services. Oh no, it's correct. To operate people dependent services at scale. Sorry.
So you're also live, so maybe you will want to repeat for your questions for people who are online.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Oh, they're still coming in. Okay, this time I'm actually happy to see that. Um, no, it's all sort of similar. There's no one. Yeah. So I think the point being it's a bunch of these. I don't know if you can even select one option out of here. It could be a combination in your mind, but that's perfectly fine. And it's true. And it's true, and it's okay to think that all of these reasons, and there are many more reasons that become challenging for bespoke services to scale. And since we're talking in the context of design, let's also jump into this question: what is design? Any thought that comes to your mind in terms of why, what, how, for whom, anything? Sorry. Oh yeah, it'll be live. So what is design in terms of, it could be something that you do, it could be something that you think is useful to the customers, um, impact of design, whatever comes to your mind. Like I keep saying, there's no one right or wrong answer. Now we have quite a few. I like applied art, aesthetic. Creativity is clearly taking over. Aesthetic solution, um,
Sanjay. Sanjay.
unique. I like somebody who said standardize. We should talk after this. Thoughts, study, plan, ideas, what we feel, system. Let's also talk. Um, Imagining the future, comfort, creative process, planning. So, a bunch of thoughts around um, imagining, planning, thoughts. Literally, there's empathy and thoughts, communication, and then there are some tangible aspects, aesthetic, unique, creative, art, functional features, a couple of ways. Yeah. Um, but this is what I want to kind of deep dive in. Let's take an example here. When we say what is design, think of the any, like, a lot of us tend to do this these days. If you want to buy something new, you will go and research a lot because there's a lot of access to information. You will look at the reviews, you will look at the um, um, past versions of the product if there are any, what's next coming out, blah blah blah, what's the right time to buy that product. There's multiple decisions involved. Think of any product that you bought in the recent times and think of why you bought it. Anybody wants to volunteer? This is not a live piece now. Anything. It could be a shoe, it could be a, I don't know, a hair dryer, pen, phone, even a mobile app that you like to use, and you kind of figure that okay, this is the one thing I can use personally or for my work. Any product that you think you might have done enough research on before you bought something. Oh, lovely. You bought a Dyson what? Vacuum cleaner. Wow. Okay. What made you buy it, if I can ask? Okay. I'm sure that's a win for Dyson. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. 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 Okay. Anybody else? Man, I'm sure you guys buy a bunch of things, and I know you guys research a lot more than we do.
The younger one, no? They research.
Oh well, get them in. But I'm going to take that example both actually, but Dyson is on my list anyway. When you talk about good design, Dyson tops one of the top firms that has done that very well. Um, but when you actually bought that product, did you think I'm buying a well designed product? Yeah, that was one of the things. But in your case, you also had to choose between OTG, blah blah blah, and you had to take care of the OCD in your house. So it has to serve the purpose. It has to function well. Of course, there's price, budget, everything involved in that, and a bunch of other things. Now, while Dyson actually stands out as a design company, um, how many people do you think in Dyson would say that I design a hair dryer or I design a vacuum cleaner? Versus how many would say I sell the products at Dyson, or I'm in the sales marketing team, I'm a retailer for Dyson, whatever the scenario be, especially in these goods, kitchen appliances. Would you hear somebody saying that I designed that oven? The retailers and supply chain have to, because it works at scale, right? They have to reach out to a mass market, whether it's digital or offline, right? Uh, Dyson is unique because it's still a very niche brand. But at the end of it, unless you didn't buy a Dyson or you didn't buy your oven, Dyson is not going to exist, right? Now here comes my caveat, and this is going to sound debatable. This is not a debate on what is more important, design or sales. It's not about that. I hear a lot of such arguments around what comes first, what comes after. There is no need to that. Need for that. I think, like I said, it's two sides of the same coin. But what is important to understand is what are you really selling to the customer? What does it look like? While you are now saying that we think of the design when we buy the product, but let's genuinely ask ourselves, when was the last time we think of design when we bought something? And we're all in the design fraternity. If I can ask you, if you bought something where you thought, I'm buying this because it's well designed.
Well designed. Yeah, my scooter.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. That's somebody who's hardcore into biking, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. At the end of it, what helps, especially when we look at the context of services, and this is just a question that I'm putting out there. Nothing that, I mean, you can answer, you can talk about it if you want to, but is design the end goal or is it something else? And now, here, let's talk from the point of view of the business. And there's, like I said, there is no what is more important and what is not more important. I know either cannot function without the other, but I'm just trying to break down to the basics. Is design the end goal for a business? Okay, since that's not a live answer, if somebody wants to say yes, no, maybe not sure. No?
It's a no.
No.
Design is not the end.
I think when we talk about all of these, right, like we are in a design industry, but what we essentially do is sell design to the customers. B2B, B2C doesn't matter. But I think that's an important point to remember when we are looking to scale, looking to standardize, productize, and we'll come to all of that. But that mind shift is very important. And I think this has helped me and my team get more clarity on this uh, because it helps you disengage from the function of design. What we do as design is a core skill, a core function, and that's why a business exists. But when you want to scale and when you want to do it in a manner that, can we close that?
Yeah.
When we want to do it in a manner that it impacts more customers, more people, more companies in different ways, I think it's important to look at it this way. You have to engage yourself from the core skill. In every company, there's a core skill, and then there are as many functions that enable that skill to be reached to the customers, right? So let's remember this when we have the next set of points. Now, coming to the core of this conversation, if we are able to meet our customers' needs with design and the customers are happy, I'm sure. I mean, especially like you have done it for years, there are a lot of agencies that have done it for years, customers are happy. So, why do we need to think, why go beyond bespoke? How does that help? In the earlier slides, we've also seen why it's challenging. So, now I want us to think about why do it at all? What is the advantage if we say go beyond bespoke? Bespoke meaning, again, a very customized and personalized service versus something you can do on the repeat, right? Again, this is a live Q&A. You can join the link menti.com and use the code 681333748.
Sanjay, you can use it.
Why go beyond bespoke?
Menti.com, menti.com.
Human desire.
Can you see the code again? 681.
681333748. scale, do more. To set up system would be I mean, yeah, I don't know if that's the end goal. Again, to set up a system is how you do it. This is more about why would you do it. Reach more clients, scale, expand your market. Skills, uniqueness is interesting that it shows up here also. It showed up in what is design. It's good that it shows up here. Okay, I think we get a sense of what's happening. Definitely, I mean, that's why we're here, to understand how going beyond Bespoke can help us scale. I like somewhere it said productivity, if I'm not wrong. Um, Efficiency, yeah. I think that's one of the key points, efficiency. But how we will look at that. Do more, show off. I like somebody who said show off. Also a very valid point. We'll come to that. Expand market, expand scale, absolutely. Should we move? Yeah. Now let's we're talking about productization today, right? And I know that it could be a little gray. The definition of productization is gray, and especially in services. And then by the time you think of a B2B service, you've already shut down your mind and said it's not possible. We're not going to do it. Okay, so we'll come to that. But let's try and understand what productization means. Okay, uh, it is. I think the easier way to look at it is, especially for services, you have to understand that it's a spectrum. There's no definitive point in your business that you will say, now we are productized or we are bespoke and we will only stay there. Some of the things that you are already doing today are towards standardization, for sure. Otherwise, you wouldn't be operating for so many years. It's impossible, right? Today, we use Excel sheets every day, every hour. Somebody in the 70s was thinking and strategizing on how this system can be productized. And today we all use it, right? So there's always a path to productization. It's not a definitive one decision made and then we're going to change everything. We're going to overhaul everything and turn towards automation, which is the other end of the spectrum. Bespoke and automation could be two ends of the spectrum. But like I said, it is clearly a spectrum. Standardization and productization fall somewhere in the middle. But the beauty is that you can choose where your business is on that spectrum. But there's another point to it. That point can change. You can choose to move towards being fully productized today and then move a part of your business back to more bespoke. That's completely fine. So again, I think this is one of my biggest learnings, especially in service industries where the output for the customer is not predefined in that tactical, tangible sense. It is important to understand that all of these are variables, and you as a business choose what you want to achieve, even if it is for a part of your customer base. When we say we are a bespoke business or a productized business or automated business, other than, I mean, calling out like, large scale manufacturing that happens without people intervention, or now today AI enabled search engines, but all of that was set up by somebody to do it the way it functions today. The, in the largest scheme of things, I don't see how a lot of businesses would be automated where it comes to services, right? You can enable some productization or standardization in the back end, But the beauty of productization is that you can try it, test it out for a group of customers and see where it leads you before you finalize, before you arrive at the solution in a um, completely defined solution. Yeah. And I see some confused faces here, but we're going to come back to that. That is the whole point. It's not a linear journey. It is not a linear path from bespoke to productization, because you will have to go back and identify there are some certain aspects of your work that you're already doing in that manner, but there are some that you haven't thought of. Now let's just try and break all this and understand why we were doing all this. Why are we talking about this? Everybody knows Starbucks. Now, what happens if Starbucks decided to go bespoke? What would happen? And by that I mean, then Starbucks is going to, I'm going to walk into a Starbucks and say that, okay, I want my coffee, half teaspoon of sugar, 2 drops of milk, water boiled to this temperature, and some concoction. I mean, okay, I am not a coffee drinker. I shouldn't talk about how to make coffee, but you get the point. And like me, hundreds of customers are walking into each Starbucks store and asking for what they want. What is it going to lead to? Sorry? Chaos. Who said chaos? Ah, yeah. Spot on, right? And earlier we said services are difficult, might be, I mean, actually, some of you said that we can scale services, but now we are saying even Starbucks can't do it when it's bespoke. Clearly, what will break over there, why chaos will happen is because you're unable to meet the customer expectations. You might meet the customer needs for the first 5 customers who come in that morning, and you're like, hi, good morning, blah, 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 I'll make you the perfect cup of coffee. After the 6th, it's gone, because your barista have to deal with several demands, right? And they're not going to be able to do the same. Even if I go back tomorrow with my same coffee, they're not going to be able to make it the same way. And that just breaks down their promise that then don't call yourself a bespoke company, right? So that is something to remember. um, but these are other few examples on how to look at this. Now we are trying to understand what is the possible difference between standardization and productization. Does it sound the same, or do we think there could be any other difference? Standardization versus productization. What is the difference? Standardization doesn't have a specific price range. I mean, that's the whole point of standardization, no? You'll get the same product at the same price whenever you order it. But yeah, to your point, then what would productization look like? Sure. Yeah. That's not a standardization example. That's just to throw you off. But yeah. Sure. Anybody else? What is the possible difference between productization and standardization? Okay. Sure. Yeah. Because it sounds like you have to sell a product to somebody. And how do you do that in the services? Right? Okay. But you know what?
Is productization more into volumes than standardization, which is standardized, and then you develop in bigger volume quantity?
Yes and no. So standardization. Can I attempt? Sure.
So I'm thinking that standardization is, to a customer, there is one solution. While in productization, um, there is there's a customer response. Like, what the customer is looking for, there's a range. But it's still, there is a degree of standardization, but there is a certain flexibility. I may want something. So I'm just looking at, say, Dyson, just saying, and they have 5 products, and the one product may suit me, and the other product may suit you. That I'm just talking about that range of flexibility in productization. So applying that to a service, vis-a-vis in standardization, itne mein itna hi milega. This is what you get. That is much more fixed.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I agree with itne mein itna hi milega, and that's the kind of feeling you get when you go to a coffee shop that sells the same thing on repeat. Especially, okay, Starbucks might be not really the right example there, but Coffee Day for sure. But to your point, yes, I think it helps to see standardization as something before productization, and by that I mean that standardization is more internal. Why would you even choose to be standardizing a few aspects or all of your business is to increase efficiency. Now, does the customer care for your efficiency? I don't care. I paid you for something, you want to give me that, right? So standardization is more internal, and which is why you can scale. Like if you design a Dyson has to be manufactured in X number of units. There are already engineers who worked on it and figured out that this process can work for this product. Manufacturing, very easy to understand how you standardize manufacturing so that every product that you put out is the same precision level. Um, Productization is a little different from the point of view that it's outside in. It's customer first. Yeah. And we'll come to that. Starbucks versus HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a company that started in Berlin. They sell ready to eat, ready to cook meal kits. And they expanded across Europe in a couple of years and then moved to US. And their last year's revenue apparently is 7 billion euros. Okay. They don't sell ready to eat products. They don't sell a cooking service. What they do is sell ready to cook meal kits. Of course, the context is different. I think a lot of companies have tried that in India, including Bangalore, but we like our cooks at home. So we don't let them scale that way, but different context. Starbucks, what they do is sell you a standard cup of coffee. So that's the difference between standardization and productization. The HelloFresh company is not saying that I will sell you the same Thai curry and take it and go. They're just giving you some ingredients and you can cook. Yeah, you still feel you made it using the best ingredients, but you don't have to put your mind to how much or what is required. A design agency versus Canva, I think this is a more clearer example in terms of two ends of the spectrum, bespoke and productization. Everybody uses Canva, so you don't need graphic designers apparently now. But that's not true. Sorry?
Lots of us graphic designers here. It's okay.
No, that's what I said. It's not true. Canva can give you a certain output in a certain manner. They have built a lot of coding in the back to ensure that your certain sizes, your post sizes, your templates look a certain way, whatever. Even after that, people can make shit of it, but that's okay. Now Canva doesn't care about Canva is not going to judge you on what quality of design you create out of using that tool. Their job is to sell you that tool. So they've really essentially productized a sense of 2D design. Yeah. Now we said when we I think earlier somebody said standardization is possible. Productization, we're not even sure. But why do we think standardization is possible?
And looking in terms of design.
Sure.
Starbucks has standardized at least some design. They are still.
Oh, you're looking at it in terms of the Starbucks space now. Okay, store. Yeah,
Or even a Bluetooth right online.
sure, sure.
So in that way, I think standardization is possible to some brands where they are scaling up. But in the product also they have standardization.
So I'm talking more about the product, what they sell. I'm not talking about their stores really. Again, if you want to talk about their stores, you have to look at it as what is in it for you as a design agency. So they think they have standardized it, but when you go and execute or design a Starbucks, how much of that is really a standardized piece for you? If you had to put a percentage to it, that you have a customer who's come in and said, I have a new coffee store to design and execute. So you have 100 things to do over there. Now, Starbucks has come to you and said, we have a design. Now, will you adapt to that and execute that store? Out of those 100 things, how many can you eliminate? Like you don't need to do it because now this is not a new store design, right? In a new store design, I'm guessing you would ideate, conceptualize, do your site measurements, all of that, right, till your processes, till the last leg of handover, including execution, billing, invoicing, everything. And now Starbucks has come and said, we have a design, you have to adapt and you have to execute. Nothing else, right? Sorry? I'm not clear on what that would mean. If you make some error in adapting to their design and go and execute something that doesn't work ergonomically or with their brand playbook, um, so it's between what both of you are saying. You said some thinking can be kind of put away, but in the rest of it, you're doing making the same effort, right? But actually, I'll question you on that. That really your thinking is not going anywhere.
I'm talking about thinking in sense of concept and design.
Sure, like really, like just the first germination of thought, idea that might be, and how much time does that save you? Oh, okay, sure.
Maybe about 30% of a project, at least.
Okay, now let me ask you in a different way. You've done this for one brand where you have 100% of things to do. Starbucks, you need 70% of that. Now there's another coffee day that comes to you. Will it be the same 70% that you have to do there? There's no variable. So now you have variables in how you approach a project because the scenarios are different, the conditions are different, the customer, the scale, the point at which the business is approaching you is different.
That's true.
Right? But even if you have another bespoke coffee outlet that comes to you, again, will you say the same thing or it depends on the customer? Like, do I have to do all of these 100 things? Do I have the same amount of time to do the 100 things? Or will something change? It will change. So, what have you standardized in your business? And that's my question to you because you said standardization is possible. Um, so the point is we know standardization is possible, but in services especially, we don't push ourselves, we don't push our imagination to that limit to explore what can we really standardize. And I hear this a lot even in my team. It depends on the customer. What can I do? Arey, but that's why you're there now. What are you doing? You can't just do, a customer dictates you something and you write it down, then nobody needs anybody else, right? But we'll come to that. That's a critical point of understanding. We think we can standardize, but even standardization is not so simple in services. Forget productization. I think productization we have not even understood yet. But I mean, the point I was making was when we talk about standardization, especially in services, service offerings, typically we tend to think of solutions in terms of packages. right? And here I'll take the example of the industry I work in, B2C home interiors. What would be a package? If I go and tell a customer that this is the package and you can get your home interiors in 7 lakh, how many customers out of the 1,000 customers who come to us each month, how many do you think will buy that package as is?
0.
Hope not. At least one. But yeah, a very minuscule percentage. But we will still do it, right? Because it gives us a leverage in terms of starting out very quickly with that customer. This whole idea that you said that it depends on the customer, we have to ask, we have to understand what they will need and then make a plan. It helps to already have a plan and identify your most common scenarios that can cater, that can be catered through your solutions. But like I'm saying, I know some of you are thinking, okay, B2C home interiors. Now, at least 10 years ago, I know I would have also said it's not possible. Now I'm saying it's possible. We are doing it. But in B2B design services, what are you going to really offer as a package? Your customer base is wide, right? You cater to brands of across industries and verticals, from food to jewelry to apparel. Now, what are you going to standardize? Sorry?
What you just said are the 3 verticals we are focusing on right now. It's just uncanny. That's fine.
Or maybe it's not. But the point is, we typically think of packages in certain verticals. It's possible. Okay, think of a company like say a branding agency. We have 3 packages for you. In one package, you can get your logo and creatives done. In another package, we will add I don't know what, I'm sorry, what else? Stationery, all of that. In a third package, we will translate, we'll give you a whole playbook of how to translate your brand look to other properties, right? That's just a package. What you're going to do for it is it's not going to change anything. Yeah. Again, you will be in the same situation when you have to do that for a Starbucks versus you do that for an apparel company. You will start from scratch. So customer thinks they're getting a standardized package, and you are saying itne paise mein itna hi milega, but you are going back and doing the same amount of work for each brand, each customer. So when we spoke about why go beyond bespoke, a bunch of us said it is to scale and to become more efficient. Are we becoming more efficient by doing this?
Not really.
Right? And also we are making the customer unhappy at this point. Now at least Starbucks has cracked that. I'm talking about the coffee they sell. You know, itne paise mein itna hi milega, and I don't think that's a cheap coffee that they sell. But they have also set up an experience around it, and you know you will get that. You're paying for that experience. You mostly will not be unhappy with it, right? But also they've done it because at the back it works very efficiently for them. So let's remember this when we have to analyze how you want to standardize aspects of your services. And like I said, I might not be giving you all the right answers today, but these are questions to think about. When we think it is easy to standardize, but essentially we have not even identified what we can standardize over there. Because of the same question that your customer base is different, each customer is expecting a different solution. Of course, they are expecting different solutions. Of course, you're catering to different product lines. But that's not for the customer to think. This is an internal process that we have to stretch our limit and understand what is it that we can offer to a customer in a manner that it makes the customer happy, but also actually increases my efficiency at the back. Till we haven't done that, we haven't even scratched the surface of standardization or productization. So like we said earlier, it is a spectrum, and your business can choose to be wherever you want it to be. Like we know, bespoke is more custom, more personalized. Standardization is consistent and efficient. The customer definitely knows what they will get, whether they're happy with it or not. And in most cases, that will also be because the business is running in a very efficient manner. And unless you're not doing and you're midway somewhere, then then you just be bespoke. Right? So the clarity is important, that what is really standardization. Productization is standardization plus plus. Can somebody step in or want to chime in and say what that plus plus could be? We have discussed that standardization obviously is creating that experience or product, same thing each time, same price point. There can be a level of customization and standardization. That's not wrong, because like remember, it's all grades, it's all variations. There's not either I'm bespoke or I'm standardized. It's never like that. Even in standardization, which is why I gave our example, if 7 lakh cup package, if I sell, some people might say, they might get attracted to it and come in, but then they'll say, oh, but this is fine, but I want not this but that, and not this here but that. And then somebody's like just scampering and going and changing everything. Then that, which means our packages are wrong. There should be at least 20% of the customers who should be able to take that package as is. Yeah. So anybody wants to step in and see or try to explain what could we mean by standardization plus plus? How does that become productization?
Standardization at multiple levels.
Like?
As I said, it's an internal process to be at multiple levels of your internal process.
True, true.
And at the end of it, as a consequence, it is productized. You get that productized sense.
Yeah. So you're saying productization is another level of standardization in a way. Yeah, like if you're able to standardize 50% of your operational pieces in your business, but maybe now you've operationalized and standardized 80% of those. Yeah, maybe. What happens to the rest of it? I agree with that answer. Where will we be? I feel we will still be somewhere in the middle there. We would not have reached the productization. And what could that differentiator really be? Actually, we have spoken about this a little while ago. Okay, let's stay on that. Anybody wants to step in at this point? I think there's no one right answer, wrong answer. I've also learned it along the way. Previous slide? Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. So when we say standardization is more internal, is because you want to make your business efficient and consistent delivery. But in most businesses, especially in our industry, we don't have repeat buyers. We do home interiors. How many times are you going to do that, right? So we don't have repeat buyers, and all we have to do is give each customer a consistent experience and product. By that, I don't mean the same kitchen and wardrobe, but I mean the quality, or in the manner that we provide them the product. But productization is when I'm able to cater to a very specific need of the customer, or actually create a need in the customer's mind and say, this is what you need. I know what's best for you. But when you do that, and when you have kind of attempted that, obviously how you will achieve that for a customer, for different customers, or for the similar cohort of customers, but make it look like it's a little specifically made for them. For that, you have to standardize a bunch of operations and thinking processes at the back. So productization, which is why I think I said a little while ago that it's outside in. Standardization could be just looked at as internal in most cases. So here I just want to step in and share a few more examples, especially from the work we do, right? When we, like I said, 10, 12 years ago, I wouldn't have agreed that people would buy furniture online. And I had done all my research on how well products work at scale. I'd worked with different suppliers, but the industry really shifted. And only once you show people what is possible, then the minds start changing. So it does help to be thinking out of the box, obviously. And I think prioritization is really about that. It's about stretching your limit to think and present a solution to the customer in a manner that they have never thought about. It's like old wine in a new bottle, really. And so when we do home interiors, it's sort of become a a thing in the industry now that what is your delivery time? Everybody is just worried about delivery time. Few years ago, nobody was worried about that because carpenters and contractors came and told you, madam, I will do it in 2 months, don't worry. And after 6 months also, they were living in your house. And nobody knew any better. So they knew it was going to happen. They knew they were going to be frustrated. And they didn't know what else to do. So that was the way of working. But today, if somebody says, I don't know how much time it will take, that customer will walk out of our store in less than a minute. So the delivery timeline has become very important. Also, at some point, we decided to put out a delivery timeline. We didn't have to. One of the companies decided we are going to say 45-day delivery. Rest of all competitions scampered to achieve 45-day delivery. So somebody said, now I'll do 40 days. I'm sure you've seen those memes, right? Samsung versus iPhones. So iPhone adds something, blah, blah, blah. Samsung says, okay, I'll just fold the phone now. You know, it is like that in a way. Um, 3 years ago, at my company, we decided to take an extreme stand and say we're going to do 15-day delivery. I like that look. I also had that look. But we made it happen and we went live in 2 months. What do you think we might have changed in our working? We were selling the same home interiors, right? We already have a very efficient system of catalogs and manufacturing and SOPs built to the T to ensure that handshake of design to execution, production to QC to installation to execution, handover, everything is taken care of. And that still is taking 45 days plus. But now we are going to go and say 15-day delivery. So while coming back to your point, standardization is possible, I would say that at that point we were in that state that we know we had in the back end standardized a few things for us to be able to give a consistent experience to the customer. But please remember, we are different from a mom and pop model of furniture store that sells kitchens and wardrobes. We don't sell kitchen and wardrobes. We supply home interior solutions. So there is a large service component in it. Each customer meets with a designer in the front end and designer personalizes that solution for the customer. And as much as I'm sure you guys find it challenging to meet with brand stakeholders who say that you haven't met my brand needs, when you work with customers who are getting homes done, you know how emotional and stressful that can be. I know you've done it. So at no point can we say that this is what you get and please pay us 7 lakh for it or 12 lakh for it or whatever it is and be happy. Of course not, it's not going to work. At that point, they don't care for your efficiency. They want to know what you're providing them. But the moment we changed the narrative and said we're going to give you home interiors in 15 days, whether or not they wanted it in 15 days, something changed. Today, that category stands at 30% penetration in our overall business. And by that category, I don't mean now we are not doing 15 days, but what we're doing is we have a set of offerings and set of solutions that work actually at a better price point. So with this, very marketing call out of 15-day delivery, and I love my idea that we went and made t-shirts, sports, the way sports t-shirts are, and we put 15 at the back. and said we'll give you 15-day delivery. What we essentially did was we wanted to enter the market that contractors were still working with. So if you understand the home interior business where it stands today, 12 lakh is a premium budget. 6 to 8 lakh is a sort of moderate okay budget. 10, 12 is a premium. Above 15 is luxury, and 50 lakh, 80 lakh are like just Uber something, you know. So, but we operate in the, I would say, up to the 6 to 20 lakh space. So we're already catering to different segments of customers and catering to their needs through the entire process and catalog that we have set up. But when it came to the 15-day delivery, the reason we want to do that is we wanted to capture the sub 5 lakh market. Because the sub 5 lakh market, whether they're renting their home or living by themselves, they are typically going to carpenters. Because interestingly, when the fabric of the industry changed, and in 10 years now we have established brands that people know they can go to for home interiors. Now they perceive brands as being more expensive. Initially, they thought it was, they looked at it as, oh, now this is accessible to me. Home interiors as a solution is accessible to me, where I get both design and execution. Unlike a carpenter who will just either execute, or a designer who will charge me a premium. But now that industry is shifted again, and now people matlab mehenga hoga. So let me just go to a carpenter, especially because my budget is sub 5 lakh. So we wanted to cater to that sub 5 lakh and also add that 15-day delivery punch to it. Some people wanted it, not everybody cared for 15 days, but it got them in. But for that, we had to redefine what we offer at the back. And that's where standardization comes in. We went back, did research of what are these home sizes that a customer would have when they have a 5 lakh budget. Based on those layouts, we reconfigured our backend systems to say that, you know, if we offer, say, I don't know, 1500 SKUs in our larger catalog, in this catalog, we might be able to do with 100 SKUs. But those 100 SKUs will cater to most of those sizes and definitely serve a functional purpose. Like, you will get a kitchen that functions as a kitchen, and you will get your fitted furniture that functions like any other piece. So we are not compromising on functionality. We are not compromising on price. We are not compromising on quality, because our own manufacturing facility. But we are also confidently able to go out and say, we'll give this to you in 15 days. Now, here comes the catch. When we decided how we relook at each stage, each process, right from capturing customers' requirement to measuring the site to designer stepping in and giving them a solution, then we have this stage where the designer and the project manager will go and, you know, do a kickoff at the site. Then it moves to production. We looked at each of these processes and said, what can we remove from here? And that is, I think, what you were saying about going deeper and saying what else can you standardize over a system that you think you've already standardized enough. There's no end to this. So we took some hard calls and said, we don't even need this step. Why do I need a sales and a designer now? Because if I do that, I'm setting expectations for the customer that, oh, one day I'll talk to this person, next I'll talk to that person. Then if the customer themselves are taking 2 months to decide on their project, what will we do with 15-day delivery? So our expectation also we had to be set with the customer that you will get 15-day delivery once you pay for your product. But for our systems to run efficiently with the kind of aim that we had, the goal was to get the designs done in 2 weeks, while other customers take anywhere between 30 days to 45 days. But we want them to have that kind of freedom and think that, you know, okay, I can take that time with this designer. But in this space, we needed the customer also to think that they have to move quick. Otherwise, we will be defeating the whole purpose for our own good, right? Because if when we talk about efficiency, why would we do a much simpler version in the backend is to be able to maintain our costs and margins, right? So we chose not just the 100 SKUs, we also chose certain materials, we chose certain finishes, and we said we will configure everything from this. So imagine it became a subset of what we were already offering, a smaller subset that can function in parallel and cater to all aspects in 15 days, from procurement to production to QC and installation. At QC, we will not send people to the site to do a QC. Every expression that you have is the expressions we have in the meeting rooms. Why? But that's the entire value of pushing your team, pushing yourself to think of why do you do the same thing the same way that you've been doing for 100 years? How can you use the tools in your favor to save time, cost, money? By the way, in all of this, I feel time is the most important thing, because the more you're able to manage people's work in more important aspects, that itself is a big cost saving. So we did, my team decided that we'll do video QC. Some of the customers were unhappy, some of the customers were okay with it. But that is a challenge you need to solve, where you go and promise something to a customer, then you have to ensure that you're setting the right expectations to the customer and ensuring that they understand what they're going to get out of this. So productization, by that sense, really is all customer first. It's all about, I would say, packaging your solution in a manner that nobody expects you to. It should hit them hard, and then they'll kind of want to know what you're doing and want to buy that from you. But obviously, it's not just a marketing gimmick. It should add value to them. Like a 15-day home interior, at the end of it is a big advantage for the customer, who possibly is, moving out of their home, their possession got delayed, they're still paying rent somewhere else, and now here we are, we can give it to you in 2 weeks, right? So it should solve a real problem. I'm not saying go and make some fluff marketing call out. So essentially, we said packaging, we kind of tend to think of standardization as packaging, but productization is really packaging that experience extremely well. And when I say extremely well, it's not just the lipstick on it. It's, you have to break down every possible aspect that the customer faces a challenge in. Can you offer a 30-day brand playbook, for example, right? A store that might not be going brick and mortar today, but is going brick and mortar 6 months down the line or 1 year down the line, and you want them to know that you're there, and can you offer a specific 30-day product to them? And now I know that, a bunch of you are thinking store, how do I make a store in 30 days? But no, don't make a store in 30 days. But is there a digital asset you can give them in 30 days? Or X number of days? I'm just saying that you have to use that intelligently in your favor to see what you can provide them. But for that, you have to ensure that every single aspect of your backend process, including everything that you said, that technically we do the same thing for each customer, how do we standardize it? But that's the challenge. Internally, we really need to break down everything that every person does in the company. It could be 100,000 steps. Identify what you can do on the repeat. And see, if you find something that you're doing on the repeat, tell yourself, how do I never do this ever again? Identify those, eliminate things that you should be eliminating. I won't say you can eliminate. They will never eliminate anything. Eliminate aspects that you should be eliminating. Where there's a lot of back and forth between people, exchange of... Is that right? Sorry. Yeah, like I was saying, eliminate what you should be eliminating, but by that you have to think of, why are we doing this the same way that has been done in the industry for all this while? Why can we not do it differently? Either you use tools that are available to you, or you create a simple tool to be able to do this. And this doesn't mean that you have to invest a lot in digital or tech-enabled AI platforms. No, none of that. Nobody expects you to do that. You have to find simple ways of doing things that you do on the repeat today, but should not be doing. But when you have to take that decision, especially for that promise that you made to the customer, saying that 30-day playbook, for example, right? What will you offer in that playbook? Now, if you say that customer will want everything, of course, customers will want everything. But are you going to be able to do that in the time committed? No, because customer dependency, tsunami happened. I don't know what else will happen, right? But use that promise, that package that you're aiming for, use that as a North Star. Put down everything that you think ideally customer would want, and take a hard call at eliminating everything that does not align with that North Star. Customer will want, of course they want. They're not going to pay you extra for it either. But this way, you've committed something, a 30-day playbook. What can you do in those 30 days? Is it a digital asset that you're creating? Highlight what are the must-haves to do in those 30 days that a customer will be happy with. Eliminate everything else. Everything else can go into a good to have. Okay, you can add this for this cost and you get this also. And that will become 40 days. That's okay, but the customer knows that in 30 days they get this, but if they invest more time and money with you, they get this in 45 days. And this is with the assumption that 30 days, 45 days is important. I'm just taking that as an example. Right? So you have to really disengage, like I said earlier, from what you're doing at the core to understand what you need to eliminate and what you need to modify in your process. Second part of it, this is the front end, what you're giving to the customer. Look at it as a stage. At the front of the stage is the customer. That package that you have is under the spotlight, and you have to do everything. You don't have a scope of error. You have to do everything that it takes to deliver that package in that committed time, price, whatever it is, right? And you will do everything, remove extras, and make the package the spotlight. But at the back end, what is happening at the backstage? You have to really execute this now that you promised it in 30 days, you do it in 30 days. So you have to look at everything that you've been doing as a process task, including design conceptualization also for new brands, including brainstorming, including research, all of those that we take for granted that ye sab to open-ended hi hai. No, we have to tell ourselves that nothing is open-ended in business. Nothing is open-ended in business. You have to cap it. You have to make it efficient and eliminate whatever is redundant. And for each decision, when you analyze your back-end processes, you have to answer, why am I doing this? And if the answer doesn't align to that North Star that you promised to the customer, then you're doing wrong. Now, here's one more challenge here. You can come to blows with each other when you start doing this, because from your one process to the other, and it's not just design to execution, which is known to be the most always that problem. But it needn't be like that. I don't agree that it has to be like that. It requires a change in mind shift. It requires somebody to own this and say that at every little step, I will go talk to that person and understand what it will take for us to change this. That's change management. Even if today you decide that we will only do this for one set of customers, A/B test it, one vertical, one set of customers, small group, where you kind of see enough scale going forward that if it works, then this is going to give us enough return. And then for that, you have started doing this exercise of simplifying, eliminating, modifying. And then at every step, you're going to understand who's involved, who are the people involved, how are they going to move from that one point to the other, including your accounts and financing and people management. Everything is involved here, because remember, people are at the core of it still. we think that when we talk about standardization and productization, people are not important. But actually, it's the reverse. They become all the more important. On one hand, they are the people who are going to be executing each piece, each part of the play in that sense to that precision. On the other hand, you still have a customer who's expecting what you committed, and you're not disappearing. You still are talking to the customer. So that consistency in your experience, in knowing that they're not a templatized Canva that they're getting, but they're getting a product that's thought for them by human beings. So people are actually at the forefront in productization, especially in services, I feel. And it's very important to get into an understanding of training, looking at your SOPs, checklists, training manuals, um, with the intent of achieving that seamless transition. But believe me, it won't happen. It will take a long time. You just have to do it one step at a time. It can be messy, which is why productization is fun also, because you do it for that certain customer cohort or certain category and say, this is what we will productize. And then you do everything that's around that. And that could be just today 20% of your business. Let the rest of the 80% of the business function the way it is. Tomorrow, that 20% might become 80% if you have hit the right need for the customer. But it's okay to test it out. And in today's world, I mean, with the digital offering, digital assets that you can provide the customer, I think it is possible to test this out. So to conclude, well, there is no real conclusion here because, like I said, there are no predefined solutions. But the fact that when we need to understand this for our core businesses, it's important to understand that standardization makes delivery reliable and consistent for the customer, while productization makes it irresistible for the customer to buy that. So it might sound like a marketing gimmick, but unless you are not geared to offer that, don't offer it. Rather deliver that. And that's the difference when we said standardization could still be more internal, but productization is really how you package it to the customer. And it doesn't have to be the lowest price point. I think it should be packaged in a manner that looks premium, feels like a service, feels like an experience that is catered to that customer. Yeah. That's my, it wasn't 30 minutes at all. But that's my goal. Next time, it's going to be 30 minutes, turning messy to methodical, because my aim is to be faster than crossing Hebbal flyover. Yeah. But yeah, any questions, I'm happy to answer.
So when you told 15 days delivery, I want to know what is the team like? How did you like? How your
I should.
team was?
Sorry, how?
How many were there in your team? I mean, like 15 days is like. I mean, I don't know how did you crack it?
That's a good question. And it, as much as it sounds like we're a large company and we have people available to us whenever we decide to do this, believe me, that's not the case. The day this was discussed with us, it was 4 of us in that room, 2 from leadership and 2 founders. In 2 weeks, we had an entire plan made. I got 1 person from my team to work on this, and each function that already is working the way they're working, each function pulled out 1 or maybe 2 people to design this entire experience workflow. So yes, you need X number of functions to come together and do this, but that doesn't mean you need 100 people to do this. And actually, in the beginning, when you are strategizing and thinking of what to do, how to productize this, the first bunch of people who do it should be a smaller group, but you should have representation from each part of the process so that everybody can understand the pros and cons, and you can argue, debate, fight it out, but the why should be clear. If everybody is convinced of the why, that why are we doing this? Because we have to deliver this in 15 days. Why are we doing video QC? Nobody will be happy. Yeah, but we don't have time to send somebody there and come back. So the why has to be clear. But no, as much as it sounds like we have the luxury of time and people, it's not true. My team will agree with that. We typically work with one resource on a project like this. We also have to think of our costs and efficiency and bandwidth, because there's several things going on at the same time anyway. The core business is still running. Business as usual has to happen. Only few can be pulled out to do this. And they don't do this dedicatedly, they also double up. So it's always a crunch time for us to do that. We are in a project like this. But now that we have done it so many times, I feel my team is also like, yeah, it's okay, we'll do it. So it takes a little bit of tuning your mind, practicing it. It's not a solution that I can give you across the table. It's something you have to attempt and see what works for your business. I'm only looking at it as an outsider.
But I'm just curious, when you say that you've done this so many times, now that you have different products, then there at least an internal process that 4 5 of you recognize very clearly that these are the steps. So now let me do it like this. Will this be more luxury? Will this be what? So I'm thinking that the way we have steps to do a retail project, which I think most of us now recognize in our organization, but some of us at management level have to just identify those steps here and then percolate it down. Is that how do you train your teams once you figure out that this is how you're going to do it? You give them, like, how do you get a buy-in?
Without fighting, you mean?
Huh.
No, I think I'm going to go back and say that the why is important. And if the core management team or leadership has a buy-in, like it or not, beyond some point you have to be dictatorial about it. And it's okay, you have to expect that not everybody in the workflow will understand the why and agree with you, because not everybody is made like that. In your company also, what is important to somebody is not important to the other person. So this might be important to you, and you have a buy-in from each other, and you're going all gung-ho and executing something. But the person who's sitting and doing, I don't know, a drawing check, they don't care whether you're going to deliver this in 15 days or 35 days or whatever. The task given to that person is, you have to do this drawing check in 2 hours. So you have to metricize that. Once you identify your process, eliminate, identify how you're going to repeat or not repeat, and how people are going to move from one process to the other, what is the intersection, handshake between everything. You have to metricize everything. Each team, each function has a goal to achieve, and that goal is aligned with the larger goal of 15 days, which means now if you give this person a target saying that your task is 2-hour QC, and you need those people also that who are just excited about doing a QC in 2 hours. They're not worried about your North Star, but they're worried about my metric should not change, I will do it in 2 hours. But each of those metrics for each person or each function aligned to that 15-day OKRs and KPIs. So when you start defining out of those 100 processes, I'm going to only function with 20 processes on this. Each of those 20 processes has to have a KPI and a metric for each person down the line. That subsequently adds up to your productized service that you're offering to the customer. Which is why I said, whether the person, you see them as operational or strategic or a combination of both, each person is important. Somebody has to come and do a 2-hour QC for you. So they're as important as somebody in the leadership who agrees to do this. Change is not easy. Change comes with a lot of. It's like taking 2 steps forward, 1 step, but that's okay. You should know where you're going. None of this is a linear path.
So in the 15 days in terms of sales package,
Yeah.
that they're going to stick to that package, or is there also
Clients have variables. Matlab they want it faster.
No, customization.
Yeah, a good question. So we always have some workflow that we have figured out. Because we know that whatever said and done in a industry like home interiors, there are site variations, there are timeline variations, there are personal needs, aesthetics, all of that. Even designers look at each designer looks at it differently. So with that variable, it's a potent sort of mixture. So we always have a custom workflow. But like I said, again, that custom workflow is not part of your package. If you're going on and saying, I'll give this to you in 7 days or 10 days, okay, this. Oh, you want this? Yeah, we'll do it. No problem. 2 more days on that.
What about the package, whatever X amount you would have told, like the 5 lakh?
Correct.
Whenever you want, when he's asking for the customized, do you like, is it under 5 lakh, or you tell them no?
If it is 5 lakh, it is 5 lakh. If they want some variation and that falls under 5 lakh, we're happy to give it to them in 5 lakh. You can charge a premium on custom, but you should know what to charge a premium on. The customer should look at it as a value add. But in our case, a lot of time what happens is we have those 100 SKUs that I spoke about. Now, we knew very well on day 100 will not suffice for all the kinds of sites that we work in. So somebody will need not 600, but 588. That also goes through custom flow, but we don't change the timeline and the price for that because that doesn't sound logical, right? So you have to, even in that custom, set expectation, but know that there should be a logic to it. And the logic is only customer. That's the customer see value in it. They will still argue. They'll say कि अभी color ही तो change हुआ है, you know. But that's okay. But that's what I'm saying. What tends to happen is we kind of stop ourselves when we hear something like this. Oh, customer will say this, customer will say that. Yeah, okay, but you have to keep moving. You have to identify how much you can build up so that the customer will continue saying what they have to say, but it will reduce so much. And what was your initial goal, by the way? You wanted to scale, na? So you are scaling. And your promise should cater to that 80% of that cohort for sure. It shouldn't be like, "Arey, ek jane ne enough. Rest of them will all be custom." That's not a successful. Yeah. I'm not clear. You're saying SKUs? Absolutely. When you start looking at services as a product, you have already kind of taken the first step to knowing that, okay, I am going to productize this some way. Productization of a service doesn't necessarily mean that at the end of it, I'm going to sell you a tangible product or a store ready, right? You can think of several ways. I think you might be already thinking if you're asking me that question, because that's the whole idea. And I'm happy to hear that reinvent the wheel, redefine what you're doing and say, okay, oh great, I can do this 5, 10 SKUs or whatever you call them, modules, and I can put them together in different ways to give different solutions to the customers. If you can do that, just keep reinventing the wheel for yourself. There's nobody going to stop you, and there's no right or wrong. That's the whole idea. Somebody's not thought of it, or at least not done it in that manner. You'll be able to catch the customer's attention in a crowd. Services industries are crowded, and how do you really hit that mark with the customer, saying, I'm going to give this to you. I understand the value of what you will get in this much time, this much price. And by price, I just don't mean that you don't have to be the cheapest, because you are going to put out a lot of brain, mind. This, if you're able to show the value to them, whether it's time or digital asset or product or whatever it is, and the customer is convinced that oh, you're thinking about it and it's not just a Canva. Okay, I keep saying it's not just a Canva. I don't mean to deride Canva. I think it's a brilliant product or a brilliant way of looking at it. But you know what I mean.
I like what you're saying, that I think at sales and everything level, when you think of something, we say, because the customer is always asking for lesser money, but we shouldn't obsess about lesser money. I think that causes a lot of confusion. Customer will ask for lesser money. That is not the point. And there will be somebody cheaper than you, never mind how cheap you are today. But we know that a business is successful when you're making better margins.
Absolutely. Also, it might sound like our large companies, we don't care for, we have investor money. It's not true. I mean, we have the investor money, but investors are also looking at that money and saying, what are you doing with that money, and where are the margins and profits coming from? So I think it's before we commit to an experiment like this, we have to think it through fully, knowing that we are able to do it.
What line do we say services is still a service and it's not a product? I mean, for example, let's say if Kirana has to ask for a logo, you can charge. Maybe
Sorry, Kirana store asked for
a logo, let's say, a branding of their store.
a logo, yeah.
There's a cap to it, but if say a Coca-Cola asks for something, there is, because the value that you create is so much different.
Yeah.
And so then how does, what I need to say is, when you're creating this kind of value, which is so different for different kind of people, then it's no longer a product. Right? It's like there's a line beyond which a service will still remain a service.
Yeah, if I get what you're saying, I think the answer lies somewhere there itself. When you say my service is productized, it is not meant to cater to a Kirana and a Coca-Cola. You're productizing a solution first for the Kirana stores. Not first, sorry, for the Kirana stores. Now that is your customer. You are capable of catering to a Coca-Cola and a MNC. So this is different from a B2C to B2B, right? In a B2C, you're only actually it's one type of customer, B2C. You know that the target customer is somebody who's doing home interiors. Now I'm not catering to somebody who's also doing a store and an office and whatever, because then my strategy would be different for each cohort of customers. But in a B2B, that's the premise of B2B, that today you're working with an MNC or you are working with the mom and pop, and then later you're working with a hypermarket. But your productized solution should work towards that format and that type of customer first. So it has to be still personalized to all Kirana stores, and Kirana stores certain city, tier 1, tier 2, all that. So your product thinking has to be really focused on the segment of the customer. And if you want to prioritize your processes for an MNC, then the same solution that you, or the same methodology that you use for thinking for a Kirana store will obviously not work. But then you might not need to prioritize it for an MNC, because there you already have a leverage.
That is what I was getting.
Yeah.
It's so, the value add is so big for MNC.
Yeah. But MNC is also willing to, so no, but MNC is also already willing to pay you for it. So I'm just questioning, do I want to spend my time and energy prioritizing that?
Yeah.
No, maybe not. I get one Coca-Cola, I mean, I'm sorted. But Kirana will not pay me that much. So if I want to cater to a Kirana store format, knowing my price point, only this price point will work. But unless I don't cater to 100 of such kirana stores, then that doesn't justify what I'm doing. So I think prioritization has more value for uh, cohorts or TGs where you can push the boundaries of scale.
Your TAM, SAM,
Yeah.
which is what, like, you really need to know that if I'm trying to productize something, is there a, you know, is there an existing market of that potential scale? Then you put in that effort.
And of course, you don't prioritize for the sake of it. Na? Like Coca-Cola might not, I mean, an MNC might not need it. They already have a lot of things working in their favor. So you have to kind of reach a space where you can create that impact, but use your professional leverage to scale your business. Please remember, you're scaling your business first by doing all this. So in that sense, I would look at the MNC project as, oh, that my bespoke team will do. It's already possible for them to do. They're doing it. That's like my 20%. Eventually, 20% of my business will run on these accounts, and the rest 80% might be like all of this. Maybe one sector is kirana stores, one sector is on other formats. I don't know. Yeah. Or it, just not formats, it could be product lines. In retail it's very different, right? One sector could be apparel, one sector is jewelry, and one sector is food, and I have productized solutions for each of them within that parameter of certain size and scale of the customer. And the 20% of my business is still like what I love doing, what I enjoy doing, and if MNC comes by, I'll not want to say no to that. Eventually I will look
But
at
see, that is our dilemma, what you guys are discussing right now. When you're looking for an MNC, you're constantly in looking mode. You need to have a product where the customer will find you. When you're doing an MNC work, your sales efforts are endless, like what we had in our tea studio yesterday. You're constantly farming, and that can get tiring. I mean, there is no end to it, and you also, it's not predictable. So you don't know when you're getting what. Even if it's a 3 year long project, at the end of 2 years, you have to still start looking again while you're servicing that customer still, right? So that being in that constant mode can be very, very draining for a team, and you can't predict what costs are attached to it. Yeah, because you are servicing as well, you're looking for work as well, all that is happening. So if you have productization, you are able to predict that, okay, this is a market that I'm addressing, and if today I have 5 customers, today probably tomorrow I'll probably have 6, 7, 8, and they will find me because I'm unique and I'm a product out there and they know what to expect. In MNC, you're going and selling each time, and you're customizing each time. So you don't know what your sales cycle is going to be like. You don't know what your conversion rates are going to be like. The unpredictability is much higher in bespoke. In a productization, I'm hoping that through all this we'll be able to bring some kind of a predictability into what our business cycle is like.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I mean, see, eventually, even a Uber luxury space, at least in our B2C, we know we can productize. But we just know it's a longer path to that. So, do we want to do that today or not? It's just about that. But uh, I don't think it's not possible to productize, but there is a speed at which you decide what comes first and what comes later. But also that once you do a part of your business which is productized and it gets eyeballs from the rest of it, it just feeds into your existing bespoke business also. So eventually you want to find that point where, oh, now like sort of they're both feeding into each other, and that's a sweet spot. Your customer might find you because you have this brilliant productized service, but eventually that customer falls in your bespoke category, and that's perfectly fine. It's a new customer at less cost. But that might be your ultimate goal, but long this path is what needs to be cracked.
Whoa.
Okay.
Thank you.
It was definitely not 30 minutes. Thank
You will need this mic, you won't be recording.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with us about productization of services. It was truly very informative and very relevant to our work. And also, it was very engaging the way you presented it. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am.
This must be on. Oh,
You know the drill, right?
usually I'm on the other side taking pictures.
So, why don't you start?
Thank you for the great session. Thank you so much.
We'll find.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What needs to be signed?
We will find you. We'll
Uh-huh.
find it. We will find
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.